In a world that constantly demands answers about who we are, what we do, and where we're going, it's easy to lose touch with ourselves. The pressures of career, social expectations, and personal crises often make it hard to listen to the inner voice, quietly guiding us toward our authentic path. But what if the key to realizing our true potential lies not in external achievements, but in understanding the inner depths of our psyche? Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, believed that every human being has an inherent drive to become whole, to integrate the conscious and unconscious aspects of the self in a process he called individuation. In this video, we explore 8 of Jung's most transformative lessons to help you uncover your true self, face life's complexities, and unlock the potential that has always been within you. Lesson 1. Don't let others define you. Carl Jung once warned, "The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you." This profound insight speaks to a universal challenge. We often adopt identities shaped by others' expectations, by societal norms, or even by fear. We live in a culture that rewards conformity, punishes deviation, and rarely gives us space to question who we truly are. But Jung teaches us that real growth begins when we stop mimicking the external world and start reflecting inward. He challenges us to ask ourselves, do we genuinely value security, or is it something we have been taught to want? Are we naturally competitive, or have we simply been conditioned to fight for limited success? By continually examining our true preferences, our natural inclinations, our style of thinking, our vision of a meaningful life, we reclaim the power to define ourselves. Only when we resist being shaped by the noise of the outside world can we begin to hear the subtle whisper of our authentic voice. Lesson 2. Understand your passions. To Jung, passion wasn't just a fleeting emotional state. It was a deep psychological fire, often buried beneath layers of repression and fear. He famously said, "A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them." In other words, unless we face the intense, sometimes dark aspects of our inner world, we risk being ruled by them unconsciously. Passion can take many forms: anger that we never learned to express constructively, desires that conflict with social norms, or fears that paralyze our progress. Jung believed that our greatest potential is often hidden within these very shadows. To explore them, he encouraged practices like journaling, active imagination, and analyzing our dreams. These tools help us decode the cryptic messages from our unconscious, allowing us to confront what we've tried to avoid. Instead of fearing our emotions, we begin to understand them. And through that understanding, we find not just healing, but new sources of energy, creativity, and purpose. Lesson 3. Focus on who you want to be. Jung's philosophy rejects the idea that we are mere byproducts of our past. He stated, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." This single line encapsulates the power of conscious intention in shaping our identity. While he acknowledged the influence of childhood and the unconscious mind, he also believed in our capacity to rise above history through deliberate self-definition. Without a clear vision for who we want to be, we are often trapped in cycles, repeating the same mistakes, reliving old wounds, and re-engaging with patterns that keep us small. For example, a fear of abandonment rooted in childhood may lead someone to sabotage relationships or cling desperately to unfulfilling ones. To break free from this cycle, we must make a conscious choice to evolve. That means planning, reflecting, and imagining a future self we can work toward. It also means integrating the immature or wounded parts of our psyche into a more complete identity. This process doesn't happen overnight, but every small act of self-awareness, every decision aligned with our deeper truth, moves us closer to who we're meant to be. Lesson 4. Give up your addictions. Addiction, in Jung's view, isn't limited to substances like alcohol or drugs. He extended the concept to include addictive ideals, rigid belief systems, and patterns of escapism. He said, every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine, or idealism. The danger of addiction is not just the habit itself, it's the way it disconnects us from reality and numbs our sense of responsibility. Addiction, whatever form it takes, is an attempt to avoid pain. But in avoiding pain, we also avoid transformation. Jung believed that true growth comes from facing life as it is raw, imperfect, and sometimes difficult. If we're unhappy with our weight, our careers, or our relationships, no amount of fantasy or distraction will change it. What we need is courage. Courage to feel uncomfortable. Courage to take realistic steps toward improvement. Courage to acknowledge that the path to potential begins not in escaping life, but in fully engaging with it. Lesson 5. Be honest about your capabilities. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. With this simple but potent phrase, Jung reminds us that identity is not defined by our aspirations, but by our actions. In the early stages of life, we experiment, we try different paths, test our boundaries, and stretch our limits. But as we mature, individuation demands a more grounded self-assessment. We must ask ourselves, what am I actually good at? What do I consistently follow through on? What drains me and what energizes me? These questions are not meant to discourage us, but to help us align more honestly with reality. When we accept who we are without exaggerating our strengths or denying our weaknesses, we stop wasting energy on roles we were never meant to play. Instead, we invest our time and effort in spaces where we can truly thrive. This clarity strengthens our integrity, builds trust with others, and accelerates our journey toward fulfillment. Lesson 6. Make strengths from your weaknesses. One of Jung's most radical teachings is that what we consider flaws may, in the right context, be gifts. He admitted to being stubborn, a trait that, while difficult in personal relationships, became a source of strength in his professional work. Rather than eradicating his flaws, Jung reframed them. He saw them as aspects of his personality that, if understood and harnessed properly, could serve a purpose. This shift in perspective is liberating. A highly sensitive person, often overwhelmed in loud or fast-paced environments, might flourish in a creative field where that sensitivity becomes a superpower. A naturally skeptical mind, seen as pessimistic in casual conversation, might be exactly what's needed in scientific or investigative work. The key is not to deny our limitations, but to explore how they can be transformed into strengths. By doing so, we stop fighting ourselves and start collaborating with all parts of who we are. Lesson 7. Find a connection to the infinite. At the heart of Jung's philosophy is a spiritual question. Are we connected to something greater than ourselves? He believed that our deepest psychological struggles often stem from a loss of meaning, a disconnection from the infinite. This doesn't necessarily refer to organized religion. For Jung, the infinite could be a sense of cosmic order, a reverence for nature, a commitment to future generations, or a connection to the archetypes shared by all humanity. When we feel part of something eternal, we gain a kind of inner anchor. We become less reactive, less anxious, and more able to endure suffering with dignity. Meaning gives suffering a context. Purpose transforms pain into growth. By finding your own connection to the infinite, whether through meditation, service, spiritual reflection, or the creative arts, you nourish a deeper dimension of your being that fuels every other part of your journey. Lesson 8. Make time for deep reflections. You must be alone to find out what supports you. Jung said, when you find that you cannot support yourself in our hyperconnected world, solitude is often mistaken for loneliness. But Jung saw it as sacred and necessary condition for psychological integration. When we're constantly bombarded by opinions, expectations, and distractions, we lose track of our inner compass. Solitude allows us to step back, to observe our thoughts, and to realign with what truly matters. It's in these quiet moments, perhaps during a walk in nature, a silent evening with a journal, or a pause in the middle of chaos, that we rediscover our own center. Reflection is not a luxury. It's a discipline, a way to make sense of our experiences, to measure our progress, and to prepare for what's next. Without it, we drift. With it, we grow. Conclusion. Carl Jung's teachings offer more than psychological insight. They offer a roadmap for becoming fully alive. His 8 lessons from rejecting imposed identities to embracing solitude form a powerful framework for realizing your potential. They challenge you to stop living by default and start living by design. They invite you to integrate your past, confront your fears, and shape a future defined by authenticity and meaning. Most importantly, they remind you that you are not just a passive product of your history or your environment. You are a conscious being, capable of reflection, transformation, and profound growth. The journey to your potential begins with a single radical act, choosing to know yourself. And in doing so, you don't just change your life, you illuminate the path for others to do the same. Thank you for spending this time exploring these profound insights. If you found value in this video, consider subscribing, leaving a comment about which lesson resonated most with you, and sharing it with someone who might be ready to hear it. Your journey inward is just beginning. And remember, who looks outside dreams, but who looks inside awakens. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and stay true to yourself.